page this morning to a whole new sermon series. We've been lectionary, it is ordinary time, and so we've been walking with the Gospel of Mark. But I told a friend of mine recently, I said, I should probably preach on the Old Testament, because it's been a while. And so here we are for the next several weeks in the book of Genesis, the last 13 chapters, looking at the story of Joseph, a familiar story, a difficult story, a story filled with all kinds of crazy things. But ultimately, the story of Joseph is the story of God's sovereignty, God's providence, and God's action in the world, even when it doesn't seem like it. And so that's when we begin this story. This is one of those stories, we had a sermon series a couple years ago where we looked at sort of familiar Old Testament stories that we were taught as children and kind of re-looked at them. And this is one that we skipped over but could easily have been included. Because I think all of us at least know the story of Joseph and the many colored coat, right? But perhaps we don't know the whole of the story. So let us continue to hear what God's Spirit has to say to the church gathered as we read the rest of chapter 37. Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, Are not your brothers pasturing the flock? Come, I will send you to them. He answered, Here I am. So he said, Go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring word back to me. So he sent him to the valley of Hilo. He came to Shechem, and a man found him wandering in the fields, and the man asked him, What are you seeking? I am seeking my brothers, he said. Tell me, please, where they are pasturing the flock. The man said, They have gone away, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him from a distance, and before he came near to them, they conspired to kill him. They said to one another, Here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. And we shall say that a wild animal has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. But when Reuben heard it, he delivered him out of their hands, saying, Let us not take his life. Reuben said to them, Shed no blood, throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but lay no hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their hand and restore him to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the long robe with sleeves that he wore. They took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat, and looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels carrying gum and balm and resin on their way, carrying it down to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, What profit is it there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him, for he is our brother, our own flesh. His brothers agreed. So when some Midianite traders passed by, they drew Joseph up, lifting him out of the pit, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they took Joseph to Egypt. And when Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in it, he tore his clothes. He returned to his brothers and said, The boy is gone, and where can I turn? They took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, dipped the robe in blood. They had the long robe with sleeves taken to their father, and they said, This we have found. See now whether it is your son's. He recognized it and said, It is my son's robe. A wild animal has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his garments, put sackcloth on his loins, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and all his daughters sought to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, "No, I shall go down to Sheol to my son mourning." Thus his father bewailed him. Meanwhile, the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Will you join me in prayer? O Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be found pleasing and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. It's a really uplifting story for this World Communion Sunday, right? And I began thinking about this text and this story, right? We know the story of Joseph, and perhaps we're mindful of the fact that in a few more chapters he's going to have some more dreams. But imagine that you are one of Joseph's brothers. 10 by one wife and 2 by another, right? And if you remember the story of Jacob, and I love what the author of Genesis does, right? This is not the story of Joseph. Did you hear that? Did you see that? The story of the family of Jacob goes this way. And then we get this story that is about Jacob's sons. And Jacob and his own brother Esau, well, they had a difficult relationship, right? Jacob stealing the birthright from Esau, and then later trying to reconcile with Esau, only to have Esau bring an army. So they yelled at one another across the river. And yet here we are one generation later, and it seems as if the dysfunction in the family is still very much alive and well. And much of it is connected to the fact that Jacob, well, he had these 2 wives. 10 sons, 2 sons. And imagine being Reuben or Judah, one of the older brothers, and having your little 17-year-old punk brother, who everybody knows is dad's favorite. Hey, I had a dream last night. One day you're all going to bow down to me. I mean, the absurdity of this story and the anger and the resentment and the jealousy of the brothers just spiraling, just like Esau and Jacob's before them. So as I came to this story on this World Communion Sunday, I began to think, okay, well, yeah, we have this table in common as the people of God. But as human beings, we also have family dysfunction in common, do we not? We also have jealousy and anger and envy in common, do we not? Because I think at the heart of this story is the human experience of things not being what we want them to be. And there's a question embedded in this text this morning. When it comes to getting what you want, where do you draw the line? If something is important to you, are you willing to tell a lie, to get it, to manipulate someone, to take the result that you think is rightfully yours? Philosophers pose these kinds of questions. I remember in my intro to philosophy class having this question posed to us, right? Something like, would you steal a loaf of bread if you needed to feed your family? Knowing that stealing is wrong, but also knowing it would save your family, right? The question they're really asking, how far are you willing to go? This is a plot in the story of Joseph, right? We see the conflict, and there's really no resolution yet. Stories are filled with obvious conflict and resolutions, right? It's why we love sitcoms. It takes 22 minutes, right, to get to the conflict and the good resolution. If you've never seen an episode of Friends, the resolution comes around the 17th minute of the episode every single time. Whether it's Joey and Chandler's chair issues or the duck being trapped in the foosball table, whatever the conflict is, it will be resolved in 20 minutes. But this isn't real life, right? And this isn't the story of Joseph. In Genesis 37, we find this question asked: how far are you willing to go to get what you want? And more directly, who are you willing to hurt along the way? This story of Joseph, as we walk through it over the 4 weeks of the month of October, one of the things that you will notice is that God is nowhere to be found in the text. God is not a character in this story. I don't know if you noticed that this morning. God doesn't say anything. God doesn't do anything. God doesn't intervene to say, no, Reuben and Judah, don't kill your brother. Don't put him in a pit. Don't sell him to the Midianites. And God doesn't break through the clouds to speak to Jacob, saying, hey, Jacob, do you know what your idiot sons are up to? No, God is silent. And what we're going to learn and see together over these weeks, and I think the question that lies under all of this is, how is God at work in the world and in our lives? So we follow the story of this dysfunctional family. Joseph is loved by his father more than all of his brothers. He's given this special cloak, this coat, to represent his father's love. He has this dream that reveals perhaps God's favoritism on display as well. And Joseph's brothers are out shepherding their father's flock, and for whatever reason, Joseph is sent to check on them. As Joseph gets closer and they see him in the distance, his brothers hatch a plan. They say to one another, "Here comes this dreamer. Let us kill him and throw him into the pit." The brothers are consumed with jealousy because of their father, but also some commentators believe that this coat was a representation that all 10 of them were going to be passed over for the inheritance, and it was going to be given to Joseph. Which makes me think of a story that Jesus once told about two brothers, right? Jesus, the younger brother says to the father, "Give me my inheritance now." And he goes off. So the brothers are justified in their anger at Joseph if, in fact, he is going to get the inheritance, that he is the heir apparent, because in that world, in that patriarchal society, it goes from the oldest to the next oldest to the next oldest. And for Joseph to get the inheritance, we got to go through 10 brothers. I do a number of funerals as a part of my task here, my call. If you want to see a family argue, pull out the will that has not been discussed. Now, not every family fights, because often families talk about it, right? But when there's the surprise, people feel as if they have righteous indignation. It belongs to me, the brothers say. Now, Reuben, as some commentators like to mention here, is sort of, well, he has at least an ounce of guilt, right? Let's not kill him, he says. Let's sell him, seeing this caravan of traders going by. So they listen, and they sell Joseph into the hands of the Midianite traders who are on their way to Egypt. And I love what the text does. It shows us that Reuben was away when the sale happens. And he comes back, and it seems that while he was away tending the sheep, that he had even more guilt. And he wanted to save Joseph. There's a whole sermon that could be preached on Reuben and the ways in which we in our own lives see the injustice in the world, and in our minds we go, that's wrong, I should do something about that. Only to come back too late. But that's not this morning's sermon, so I'll just set that there for you. Joseph's brothers are determined to put an end to his dreams, to his favorite status in the household, that they lie and they sell their brother. And even at the end of the chapter, their father's heartbreak, right, is not enough for them to admit what they've done. Imagine all of the years moving forward, every time entering their father's tent with supper, and perhaps that passing comment that he makes about missing his son. And yet, the plan continues to unfold. The dream of Joseph being put into the pit. Who are the people in our lives, in our families, in our communities who are dreamers? We just don't want to listen because we don't like what they have to say. I was reading one commentator this week who mentioned the famous "I Have a Dream" speech of Martin Luther King Jr. and connecting it to Joseph the dreamer, and how here we are so many years later and that dream is still not a reality. Because dreams are simply that. They're dreams, they're ideas, they're hopes, they're wishes. We live in a time of extreme reaction, not much like the extreme reaction Joseph's brothers have. If someone says something we don't like, we shut it down. We don't listen. We don't hear a word. We're done. Oh, you're like them. You're one of them. We don't listen. We put them in the pit. Or perhaps we're the ones in the pit, right? Life isn't the way we had thought it would be. We had dreams. We had ideas. We felt like God was leading us somewhere, and yet here we are in the pit. The psalmist loves to use the refrain of the pit over and over again as an image for when we feel left and abandoned by God. And if you look around the world, it can often feel like perhaps all of us are in the pit. Amen? War rages in Ukraine. Bombs fall over Beirut. And our prayers are with Leslie and Tony and their family who are currently there. Ballistic missiles flying from Iran. Israel promising retaliation. And even in our own nation, hurricane winds going all the way up into Asheville, North Carolina, causing destruction at a place I love, in Montreat, with water roaring down the road, washing it out. And it can feel as if all of us find ourselves in the pit, right? We had a dream of what this life of following Jesus looked like, and yet we look around us and we feel as if the people who are supposed to be our brothers have betrayed us. The people that were supposed to keep us safe have sold us off. And so this text comes to us and it asks us, what are you willing to do to get what you want? Or who around you has betrayed you to get what they want? Because the truth is, sometimes we're the ones doing the selling and sometimes we're the ones in the pit. And at the heart of all of this is the question, where is God? Because at this table, we're told there is room for all. We sang it this morning. And yet, the reality of life is that perhaps there are times where that doesn't seem to be the case. And then at the very end of chapter 37, in the midst of the wailing of a father who has lost his son, the passage doesn't give us much way of resolution like a good sitcom. There's this word, meanwhile. Joseph has been sold to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Meanwhile. It means the story isn't over yet. Meanwhile, though Reuben has not done enough this time, though he could have done more, though there's still a meanwhile. Meanwhile, without shying away and pretending all that this family is a mess, that it's not the way God wants it to be, God is still saying, meanwhile, I can work with this. I will work with this. Meanwhile. And that while, that in between, it might be a year, it might be a day, it might be decades. But somehow, some way, God is still at work in the mess, in the pit, in the lives of a family who for generations is dysfunctional. Meanwhile, God is protecting and preserving Joseph. And his brothers won't know it for a long time. But God is still at work in the meanwhile. God is still reconciling all things, even in the meanwhile. So friends, don't lose hope in the pit. Because God is still at work. And we trust and we hope and we believe that while it might get worse, God is with us in it. Even in the silence. And that story about that father and those two sons, right? The one goes off and he sells everything. And his older brother, he's jealous when he comes home because the father says, go get him the robe and my shoes and let's throw a party because my son that was lost has returned home. And the end of that story is not about a resentful and jealous older brother, but an invitation to reconciliation. My son, the father said, you have always been with me, and everything I have is yours. But we celebrate today because that which was gone has returned. That which was dead is alive. He who was lost is found. Friends, the story of Joseph and his brothers is an invitation to be reconciled to one another and to God. Because it's not our work. It's not our reconciliation. It's God's work, even in the silence of the pit. May it be so this day, tomorrow, and forever. Amen.